investments in Orchid Pharmaceuticals was perhaps the single mistake we have ever made. That's the word coming in from Adar Poonawalla, CEO of Serum Institute. Talking to me on his investments and tie-ups with companies in the listed space, Poonawalla says their nearly 15% stake in Panacea Biotech is just strategic, while their tie-up with Cipla is only limited to South Africa. Listen in.
I think it's just a strategic investment for now, and I don't see any merit in acquiring that company. They're doing very well. They have their own plans, and we'd initially, yes, many years ago when we had invested, we thought maybe we could come together, but the promoters right now want to continue running that company, and they're doing a good job. So I think we don't have any plans to do anything there.
You did sell some of your shares in Orchid Pharma. Have you exited it completely?
Orchid was a classic example of why we will never diversify again, to your earlier question. We thought maybe we could enter the pharma space. Orchid was a leader in cephalosporins. That company was mismanaged and had its own issues, and I won't go into a lot of detail, but that's just been a write-off as perhaps the single biggest mistake that we've ever made. You know, we've never made any other mistakes except for our investment in Orchid, because that company is now in CDR and is NCLBC.
But you didn't ever think that you could acquire the company and turn it around and enter?
Well, we tried to, but we had issues with the existing CEO and promoter, and that didn't work out. And the debt that they kept taking was without anyone's consent, and they sort of went further into a mess, and we just now are getting out of it at whatever value we can.
So you won't ever enter the formulation space?
No, I think we're going to stick to making vaccines, and as I said, at the most diversify into our new NBFC that we formed to enter the financial services area.
Okay, I'm going to get to the NBFC business in just a bit, but before that you have a tie-up with Cipla as well to enter the US as well as the European market. Where do things stand? It's not yet taken off.
No. So Cipla decided for their own reasons to shut down their front end, and they didn't want to continue doing what they had originally planned. So our strategy was to use Cipla's network to sell in Europe and the United States. Since they have now changed their strategy on that, we now only have an existing tie-up for, I think, the South African market with them, and nothing else at the moment. But we can always look at other synergies if they come about. So at the moment, there's hardly it's a very small relationship for the South African market that we have with Cipla.
There was a lot of speculation that there could be a possible merger between Cipla and Serum. You've clarified that wasn't the plan ever, but.
Yes, and because, you know, you've got the next generation and Cipla also running that. Usually, you know, if the next generation is not interested, only then there is a possibility of a merger or a sale. But we also discussed it in the sense that there isn't really any major added value for either company by coming together, because the synergies, unless there's major synergies now, for example, Sun Pharma, Ranbaxy, they saved a lot of costs, and there were other strategic reasons, so that made sense. Whereas for us, being a vaccine company and they're in a completely different area, there are very limited synergies. So I think the rumor just remained a rumor, and there was no real, I mean, even after the rumor, we thought about whether we should act on a rumor, but there wasn't really much sense to it, so we just left it.